If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. I post a new Tom Brady video every day.
Yeah, and Belichick often talked about how, based on what they saw of Brady as a rookie, he should have been a sixth-round pick. The coaches, I write about this in the book, but after the Patriots would practice, they would have what was called opportunity periods, where the guys who didn't get a lot of reps in practice could practice extra, and the coaches would hang around and watch them. And Brady would always do the opportunity periods. And Eric Mangini would coach the defense, and Brad Seeley would coach the offense, and they would bet on who would win. And Eric Mangini usually ended up winning because Brady was throwing so many balls into the dirt. Yeah. But the thing with Brady was that he couldn't walk off the field unless it was on a good note. He would refuse to leave unless he had hit that final pass or whatever it was, even if he was late to a meeting or whatever it was. And so you sort of saw his perfectionist tendencies in there, even at early stages.
I've said this before. Wayne and Tom Brady are the two most humble GOAT superstars I've ever been around.
It was during their 9-year drought. That's the middle of the book. And they had plateaued at the highest elevation that you could possibly plateau, missing out on Super Bowls by a slimming inch of an Eli Manning pass here or there. And yet Belichick and Brady, rather than kind of going to war with each other over that, delved deep into themselves and reevaluated all of their belief systems and challenged every assumption that they had made that honestly may have worked better than almost anything in NFL history. I mean, they had already won 3 Super Bowls. And you see some of the things that Tom Brady did, going to work with Tom House. He has completely retooled his throwing motion. He throws the football completely differently now than he did early in his career. And that really started during that drought when he was saying, I missed Wes Welker in the Super Bowl down the seam by 2 inches. And I need to figure out a way to be 2 inches more accurate in the biggest moments of the biggest games. The way that Bill Belichick ended up using the Baltimore and the Raven formations in that playoff game against the Ravens that really kind of reignited their dynasty because they were down by 14 against a team that was not scared of them. And Belichick realized he needed to be resourceful and had thought ahead. I think that that to me is really interesting because you talk about how rare it is that these guys stayed together for 20 years. Those traits are so rare that they would look, dig within themselves and try to improve, even if they were, during that entire time, considered the best at what they did in the NFL. And so, when we talk about what makes sustained greatness, I think that that's one of the really essential ingredients is that, these two guys looked at coming up just short in the Super Bowl as a failure that almost took on an atmospheric type of quality to the point where they needed to look within themselves and figure out a way forward.
And I saw James Harrison, who I'm a big fan of. He says, when I got traded to New England, I wanted to hate Tom Brady. But you know what? This dude was so nice and so great to me. I was like, now I'm mad. I like this dude. And so people talk about Wayne and Tom the same way. They are so humble and but they go out of their way to be one of the guys. And that's a very honorable trait.
And again, Brady was not winning championships during those years that he said, I'm going to play into my 40s. And so you just saw how they were able to redefine their own expectations and also redefine anybody else's idea of the inevitable during that period.
Tom Brady is at his core an extremely optimistic person. And for those who might look at him and say, he's ruthless, he's this, all this other stuff, he's selfish, whatever it is, Tom Brady is an optimistic dude. And I have sat with him on several occasions, and no more than after the comeback against Atlanta, and sitting there for 2 hours just thinking about and talking about what lay ahead for him. And it's just, he obviously you're going to be happy after you win a Super Bowl. Everything was just optimistic. And I think sometimes in life and in sports, we don't realize how much a person's approach to what he does for a living influences whether he succeeds or fails.
Look at how it's played out on a global stage. Brady rallying the Patriots down from double-digit fourth-quarter deficits twice in Super Bowls.
I remember playing with a legendary quarterback in Warren Moon, and being a diva wide receiver. Early in the relationship, I had done a couple of things that he had to check me on. Now, Tom Brady, we're talking about how much fun he's having off the field. Has Tom Brady had to give you that look or check you were one of those offensive linemen at a critical situation in this early part of your relationship?
Me personally, I don't think so. I don't think he's ever singled anybody out, really. He's a big motivator. He's real passionate in his job and what he does. So, obviously we expect things to go a certain way. And, those moments where it's, if, strained a little bit more, or did this a little bit more, we could have got this. But, at the end of the day, we're all out there together to get the win. Like I said, he's passionate. You got to love it. Everybody gets fired up. You know it.
And I wanted to know how that came to be, because Brady was a whiner. He has used that word to me and to others. He would blame everybody except for himself. And there was a really pivotal moment in his life where he was at Michigan and he was buried on the depth chart and he doesn't see a way out. His dad's like, I don't think you're going to play here. And Brady's like, yeah, you might be right. And he goes to Lloyd Carr and he says, I think I'm going to transfer to Cal. And that night he meets with Greg Harden, who is his counselor at Michigan. And, he's whining to him about how he's going to leave. He needs to get out of Michigan. He wants to play. And how does Greg Harden respond? By giving him a hug? No. By showing him tough love? No. He laughs at him. And he starts laughing in Tom Brady's face. And he says, you want to leave? Go ahead. You haven't done shit here anyway. No one is going to care if you leave. And if Tom Brady had left and gone to Cal, he probably would have had a good career and would probably be out of the NFL and successful in business right now. But those words kind of reignited his competitive juices and got him to look at the glass half full rather than half empty. And he, came back to Lloyd Carr the next morning and he said, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to prove to you that I'm the best quarterback on this team.
Donovan, you're laughing, I'm laughing. You know Tom Brady now for over a year. We in the media think of him fierce competitor on the field, but tell us what surprised you the most about Tom Brady and his personality off the field.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. I came across that video yesterday and I said, yo, Tommy B, how do you just keep a straight face doing this? And we just cracked up laughing. But, I love it. It's great. It just shows you, at the age he is, he's still having fun with it. And that's a big key to it. Anytime you lose sight of it, that it's a game and you're here to, build camaraderie and with your teammates and have fun. And, you just got to still have fun with it. It shows, but that's Tommy B being Tommy B.
But one of the parts that has a great lesson for people is that every time that Brady thought he had the job, something happened. And especially his last year, they brought in the Superman, Drew Henson, and Carr had this bizarre, this bizarre way of playing them where Brady plays at the beginning and then he platoons with Drew Henson, and even they're winning games. So he keeps doing it, even though Henson is clearly not playing well. But those are the kind of things he's had to beat his whole life, which I firmly believe that his training at Michigan was a great runway for what happened to him at New England.
Well, and people look at Lloyd Carr like, oh, he was a bad coach because he didn't see Tom Brady's greatness. Tom Brady was not fully formed. Right. And from knowing Tom Brady as you do, and I do from the conversations that I've had with him, over the years, he almost looks at football like a means of self-actualization. And it makes perfect sense to me, like that last year the Bucs beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and Gisele Bündchen runs onto the field and she hugs him and she says, what more do you have to prove? And Brady figures out a way to change the subject, because the Super Bowls for both Brady and Belichick really are almost like a byproduct of a larger compulsion and obsession and deep need that, even though we've watched it play out over all of these decades, I still don't think we quite understand just how essential it is to their beings. Each of these guys could have left many times by now, and they just refused to do so. And I think it speaks to something very intense within them that no matter how many times we think about or we watch play out, we still don't quite understand just how essential it is to their beings that they do what they do on Sundays.
That's it for this video. I post a new Tom Brady video every day, so please like and subscribe. That way you'll always have a new Tom Brady video to watch every single day. Thanks for watching.